All right, our kind of people. Look, episode 2 was fantastic. I give it a 9 out of 10. This was a great episode. I think overall, this episode, I think I got a lot more out of it than episode 1. That's not to say episode 1 was bad. I just thought the pacing was kind of off. Apologies. It seems I had some details wrong in my episode 1 review, such as I wasn't able to identify what exactly Angela pulled from the wig. Oh, it was a piece of Leah's hair, and then the fact that she did not wear the same shoes that Tyreek bought her to his party that he invited her to. Yeah, it was the first episode. I was wrong about a few things. I'll try to be better, but here's another thing. I do not think I can watch this show live because of the fact that I'm taking notes as I'm watching. Guys, I kid you not, I have 5 pages of notes from last night's episode alone. Holy crap. Thankfully, I watched the episode maybe an hour or two at. No, I started, 10:30, about less than 2 hours after it aired. I had to pause it so many times because there were so many key details like names and dates. So I feel like I got my information right. But as always, if I have anything wrong, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Shout out to the YouTube's channels, we're Ashley Miller, as well as Ruthless TV, because they got their reviews out, rather quickly. Look, I can't, I'm not doing it for this show. This takes time because, guys, oh man, I will say I'll be as in-depth as possible in this review, but let me know if there are any theory or discussion videos you want me to talk about. Somebody actually requested that I do a video. Do I think that Raymond is attracted to Angela? I want to say yes and no, but maybe I'll do a separate video on it. Who knows? Let me know in the comments if you want it. So, like I said before, 9 out of 10, fantastic episode. Even a freaking cameo by Miss Ella Payne herself, Cassie Davis Patton. And this was entitled My Mother, Myself. Now, take a moment to hit the thumbs up button that to show that you like the video. Go ahead and hit subscribe as we get closer to 200,000 subscribers. Hit the bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. So once again, we start off the episode with Angela. And this time she's on her live talking about the history of black hair. Look, I'm a black man. I don't really have that much hair. But just to kind of hear the empowerment that people can give each other, black people, when talking about the history of different aspects of our culture. I feel like this I feel like this show is kind of like Black Panther in a series, in the sense that there's a lot of black pride and empowerment. I think, well, it's like some people say, God created nothing better than a black woman, and I just love Angela's empowering words. I'm probably saying that wrong. Look, I just woke up. To her followers. It's just the fact that I see why black women, or excuse me, I feel like I've got a better sense as to the importance of black hair. So as she's going through that, there's her voiceover, and we see 2 different perspectives here. We got Leah getting ready for the big event, and then we got Angela getting ready for the big event. But we do something interesting with this episode. We actually kind of flash back 48 hours earlier at church. So we can assume that the events later on in the episode happen on a Tuesday, and since it's church, we can assume it's Sunday morning. And Pastor John Gray, I actually saw him preaching once. A friend of mine this was when I was in college. We rode up to his home state, Pennsylvania. And it was me, him, and 3 other, a couple other guys, from the dorm. And we went to an event called Acquire the Fire, and it was this big, event with, stomach growl. I haven't eaten yet. Different speakers and John Gray. And look, I know there's a lot of personal stuff going on, in his life and all, but I'm talking about the man as a preacher. He was I went to Acquire the Fire. He was spitting fire. In this episode, I just love the relevancy of what he was saying to the story between Leah and Angela. Just amazing. And I think it really reflected Angela in this episode, where you have to wonder, is she really doing all of this for the sake of saving her mother's name and reputation, or is she really doing this for herself? So, because sometimes, when you try to, I guess you could say, reveal the monster in the dark, you might actually reveal a mirror, and that monster is you. Because it's kind of like a black version of the movie Mean Girls, where you got the underdog trying to get revenge on the plastics, but then she becomes one of them herself. So Angela needs to watch those tactics. So during this during the sermon, you got a couple of moments where Angela and Leah are shooting the stink eye at each other, which I thought was great. So, you got the music going, you got the choir singing, and both her and Tyreek have a moment where they shout out like, yeah, and then they look at each other. So after service is over, they're out in the church yard, and they kind of have like brunch or whatever, and Tyreek actually offers his contractor experience and expertise to Angela, who asked him, hey, do you know anybody who knows about like renovation and whatnot? And it's like, oh yeah, a contractor. Oh yeah, that's me. It kind of reminds me of the story behind Off the Wall, where Michael Jackson asked Quincy Jones on the set of The Wiz, hey, do you know any producers who be able to help me on an album? And Quincy's like, well, me, Michael, come on now. All right, so what happens in this situation is Olive is talking to Leah about the fact that, you know what, we might need to deal with him too, because in reference to Tyreek, he's just as much a troublemaker as that Angela's mother, Evelyn. And on top of that, you need to get your daughter in line because of her reckless behavior and get this family back on track. So good Lord, Leah, I'm not saying I feel, well, in a way I kind of feel bad for her, but it's hard to feel bad for somebody who says they uplift people, specifically black women, but you literally tore apart Angela in front of everybody at the fashion show in the last episode. It's almost as if like Black Panther, you got Killmonger, who's all about, uplifting black people from oppression, yet you've killed black people before, in Black Panther. So it's like, I guess what's that saying? You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. So how many people do you have to kill and step on in order to quote unquote help people? Specifically when the people you step on and crush are supposed to be in the group of people you want to empower and help. So it's really interesting. So I guess the main thing with Leah is trying to determine whether or not she will lose herself trying to be part of the system to help others. Like in episode 1, she talks about how she doesn't want to be like her father by doing underhanded tactics, yet she's doing the same stuff but in different arenas. So why is your father's dirt any worse than the dirt you're slinging at somebody? So look, these reviews might be long because there's a lot to say. Not to mention, I feel like the meteor, not meteor, but the meteor, the more meat that I add to these reviews, that means the less break off videos I have to do. So I might not have to do like 20-hour kind of people videos a week because my reviews lay out all my thoughts. So just to let you know, sit back and relax, or have this playing in the background when you're doing something, because look, I'm not even halfway through my first page of notes. All right. So the women, I guess you could say these were like not the yes men, but the yes women. These are kind of like, the main cheerleaders for Leah. Hey, Leah, congrats, girls. Not every day a black woman's on, going to be in Forbes for taking over $1 billion company and whatnot. So Angela actually comes up to her so they can have a, gal chat in the corner. And she pretty much just wants to clear the air despite their rough start, specifically last night. But Leah kind of just stops it right there, and she thinks she knows about Angela's type. Oh yeah, you're the kind that just comes up to this area once a year just to kind of flirt with empowerment and success. But we live it. We are the elite. So yeah, she pretty much thinks she has Angela's number. So Angela was like, okay, I got you. But Leah actually tells Raymond once they're at home about her tactics to get her dad out of business, and Raymond's like, wait, what? So this leads to her saying that, hey, you're going to get your company back, and Raymond's like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes, and they have sex from there. And we go over to the boarding house, and the test results from the DNA test have come back, and Angela gets Nikki to open it up, and it turns out there's like a 99 or 97.1% chance that Leah and Angela have the same father. And Angela is like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, this is it, this proves it. And then Aunt Peggy's like, this is just a DNA test, this ain't got nothing to do with the investigation, you gotta look more into it if you want to get your mother's name out of the dirt. So from there, both of them are concerned because Angela's really kind of losing herself in this. You know what? I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's like Nikki saying, well, we need to take care of grandma's wishes. Like she wanted her ashes scattered, around here. And it's the fact that nothing that her mother wanted Angela to do since she got to Oak Bluff. I'm sorry. Ocean Bluff was the name of a location in one of the seasons of Power Rangers, so I apologize if I say Ocean instead of Oak Bluff. But basically, the wishes that Angela's mother Evelyn had for her once she got to this area have been neglected because she's been more focused on getting what she feels she deserves. So it's like, wait, Angela, are you really trying to clear your mother's name for your mother's sake, or are you trying to do it for yourself and what you feel like you deserve and what you missed out on because of your neglectful father as a child? So from there we go over to Raymond and a friend. I think his name is John. I apologize if I got it wrong, because isn't this the same guy who shows up at the end of the episode, and it turns out that he and Leah have been having an affair behind Raymond's back. Again, I didn't catch the name. I tried to look at the end credits, but the end credits only showed who it co-starred. So this guy's name could have been in the opening credits, but it didn't show who he was portraying. Like Cassie Davis, her name was in the opening credits, but her name didn't show up at the ending credits. So I didn't see, the name of the character. But in any case, turns out that Darman is a combination of DuPont and Harmon. A black and white pair of buddies who started a business. I believe their great grandfathers, and as the family line, went down, so did the business owners. So it was like, okay, the great grandfather's sons took over the company together, then their sons, and then, the generation now. Turns out, this was another great speech, because in episode 1, Raymond delivered a speech to his son about, black excellence, black kings and whatnot. But in here, we have the fact that you have the white guy and the black guy. You got the fact that you got the white guy where your father gave you the company credit card and let you use it like a bank account. You could do whatever you want. I mean, you could always screw up and not face any consequences. But being black, the way I was raised, I had to do everything damn near perfect just to be accepted. So don't think we're the same, because we're not. Again, gotta make a Marvel reference. If you watch the What If series, there's episode 6, the Killmonger episode, who I mentioned earlier in this video. When he killed Tony Stark, he's like, that's the difference between you and me, Tony. You can't see the difference between you and me. We're not fighting the same battles. Because Tony's like, I thought that you and I were the same. We're just trying to make our fathers proud, fight the good fight. We're not fighting the same battles, Tony. That's literally what's happening here, because Raymond and his business partner, they're celebrating because Raymond's like, hey, I'm about to get my company back. Teddy won't be a problem. But he brings up the big financial dip the company took in the fourth quarter, meaning that he points out his partner, and his boy's like, man, don't even worry about it. You want to tell me about consequences? Yeah, white privilege. You never had to face consequences, but you're going to face them now. So this was a very, very, very good scene. I mean, I replayed it a couple times. This show has a lot of rewatchability. It really does. Okay, this second page of notes is very Leah heavy. So the women are trying to work on the flower arrangements for the upcoming big event. And Leah throws shade at Angela's arraignment, saying, oh, don't go too easy on the baby's breath. Better not make it look cheap. And then, again, her yes women are kind of chuckling, and Angela looks at them. They're like, huh, whatever. So Lauren shows up drunk and, hung over, and it looks like, I don't know what she was drinking, either alcohol or water, but I think it was water. Either way, she shows up just looking toe up from the flow up. And Leah's like, okay, how about this? is unacceptable. You sleep in, you miss church, it looks like you're hungover, but how about you come to the Forbes photo shoot with me tomorrow, so then we can go to lunch and talk about a few things. And Lauren's like, that sounds great, but there are some things to tell that you might not like. And then Leah reassures her that I'm always going to love you, but then Lauren gets up to go puke because she doesn't feel too good, and she leaves her phone behind. And then from there, Leah looks at it and notices several pictures of her and Taylor, basically revealing the fact that these two are in a same sex kind of romance going on. And then the ladies congratulate Leah on her new position, and she's like taking in the love. But then Angela, kind of like the new person in the office with some fresh spunky energy, is like, hey, why don't we rename the event to kind of incorporate and represent the sisters or the black women who never really get recognized. And you got like Tracy and her friend kind of giving, everybody in the room is kind of giving Angela kind of like a confused look, like, yeah, whatever. But then Leah essentially piggybacks on Angela's idea and kind of, says what she says in a different way. And I believe she decided to call it the Black Diamond event, or the Black Diamond Gala. And then everybody applauds it. And then Angela's looking around like, okay, I see what it is. Basically, if you're not the one with the power, nobody's really gonna clap for you. But when the person it's like those memes where, where your boss or your teacher tells a whack joke, but you chuckle just because you want that raise or you want that good grade. That's essentially all that happened here. So this moment was good because it was just a power move, kind of like Leah. She didn't shut down Angela's idea. No, she just jumped on it. Like I said, piggybacked on it, and then said it in a way that it sounded like she came up with the idea and then got the applause. Again, it's just a underhanded power move just to demonstrate, yeah, I'm the woman that holds the power in this room of women, little girl. And I just love it. So in a sense, you got to look at it from this perspective, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm right here. Isn't the name Franklin Holdings? Isn't that the name of the company? I think this is the same boardroom. Again, I could be wrong, but the same boardroom that in episode 1, Teddy broke it down for his daughter, who runs this company. Like, I'm at the head of the table while you're at the foot. So notice how when Teddy isn't there, Leah has that Teddy energy, so she's not above shutting down an upstart woman trying to shake things up. In the same way, Teddy takes control of the room to have those white people looking up at him. Just notice that. Okay. So on the way out, you have Leah just kind of tossing an errand, I believe like delivering a flower arrangement to her mother, who I thought was dead in episode 1, but apparently that's not the truth. Going to deliver a flower arrangement to her mother, but Tracy's like, well, I have to drop my son off and do this. And, Leah just goes out because she doesn't care. But then Angela kind of scoops in and is like, oh, don't worry about it, Tracy, I'll go do it. And Tracy's like, wow, thank you. And it's like, just looking out for a sister. And I'm like, oh, that was nice. But then we know it's underhanded, as we will find out very soon. So we get to the first exchange between Just Raymond and Just Angela. And I get it. Well, no. I'll save it for when they meet up at the gala or the ball later on. But basically, Raymond just says hi. But of course, Angela's like, oh, yes, about my application. Oh, yeah, we looked it over. And I really like this discussion because as somebody who is an entrepreneur, on the social media and, business side, if you will, through eBay and whatnot, it's something that really is important to talk about, and that's business not wanting to take risks because of the fact that Eve's Crown, it doesn't matter how good your product is unless it's making an impact, unless it's getting a lot of sales. Nobody's really going to know about it. It's kind of like, music. Like, there could be a good number of underground artists who have potential Billboard top 10 single hits already recorded from their basement, from their garage. But if you don't have a radio play, if you don't have a big machine behind you, it's not likely that your music is going to get out there. Mind you, we live in a day and age of a lot of different things like SoundCloud, YouTube, and whatnot. But think of it from the Angela perspective. It looks like she has a decent amount of people on social media, especially based on the comments and whatnot. Eve's Crown probably has a good amount of, I guess you could say, merchandising in several locations, but it hasn't made that big of an impact on the map. And if I'm not mistaken, in my notes, Angela's like, wait, so I have to be on the map so you all could help me be on the map. So Raymond's like, well, yeah, we need to you need to show us that your brand is already strong. That way it minimizes the risk. Slight segue here. Kev on Stage, I love his podcast, Here's the Thing, formerly known as Righteous and Ratchet, and he said several times before, I hate to be petty, but sometimes, I think like Thanos is like, look at you. Where did that bring you? Back to me. All the times he said he was told no. It's like, oh, I have a movie idea, I have a script idea for a show, or how about this position as on tour and whatnot, or being sponsored, and people said no. But once he started blowing up, doing his own thing, his own podcast, his own tour and whatnot, that's when sponsors and agents wanted to come out of the woodworks, because of the fact that they don't care how talented you are. They want to know how little of a risk. Basically, okay, if this person's already established in their business, then we can latch on because we know that they're already successful. We can help as well and make money from it too. So that's the understanding I got from it. And I love what Raymond said. It's like, I saw the application and you're hungry, so stay hungry, but just keep that confidence. And I just love how Angela's like, yeah, you're going to see more of it. Yeah. I just love that moment, because it's one of those situations where you got a person like Raymond, who to Angela is at the top of Mount Olympus, and she's at the bottom trying to find, her way up with the map. But I love the fact that Raymond did not talk down to her. Raymond just gave her solid advice. It wasn't even a rejection. It's like, hey, we saw your application, but here's a way to boost it up. Here's a way to put yourself out there. So our company, basically the committee looking for applicants of the grant could know that Eve's Crown is worth the investment. So I loved it. This is great. So from there, Angela goes to the home to meet with Rose Franklin, and when she comes in, and this was the woman I did not recognize during the preview for episode 2. I'm like, this isn't Aunt Peggy, but the little bitch came to visit, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Does she know that this is Angela in regards to like, oh, this is the bastard child? But no, she actually thinks it's her daughter Leah. So from there, Angela starts, brushing her hair and whatnot, and we get, I know, you might say, well, Jeremy, this is a huge exposition dump. Don't you not like it? No, I thought this was well done. Essentially, during the 1984 Black Diamond Ball event, or whatever they would have called it back in that day, because I believe Black Diamond Ball was the name that Leah gave to this certain event. My bad. Her and Teddy, while Leah was only 2 or 3 years old, and I think later on we established that Leah is a couple years older than Angela, so this could have been like right when Angela was born. Her and Teddy had both been inducted into the Black Elite, like Rose was inducted into the Sisterhood, and then you got Teddy being inducted into the Black Kings. So Evelyn Vaughn, because Leah's asking, little questions here and there, because as soon as she says Evelyn Vaughn, it's like, did your father send you here to humiliate me? 'Cause I'm thinking at first, like, oh, Lord. Because she, like, reached up and grabbed Angela's hand to stop her from brushing her hair. And I'm like, oh, shit. But Evelyn Vaughn was her friend. So, again, it gave me, like, Catherine Cryer, Hannah, young vibes, was her friend. And she worked for her for about 2 years. And I told my husband, if you lay down with dogs, you get fleas. So they went from being close friends to, you turned out to be exactly who I thought you would be, gutter trash. So bastard, Angela was born as a result. So from there, this woman was low down and she was just trying to make a good score, selling drugs and whatnot. She sold her child to Deborah, I believe it was Deborah Ann Washington, for $50,000. Yes, Deborah brought the baby home from the hospital. I'm not going to lie. Angela got all emotional. Like, Lord, is she going to snap this woman's neck? Because, Rose was talking about her mama just, Oh god, she was giving her the work about, oh, this woman won't shit. And from there, it's like, you know what? I know all this. I was the president of the sisterhood. I know all the secrets on this island. I'm like, oh, damn. So Angela is overcome with grief. So she leaves. And then Rose is like, no, you and your father put me here. You have to get me out. Leah, get me out of here. I mean, the fact that her mother was put into a home leads to a whole lot of moral questions between her daughter and her husband. But yeah, what can you do? All right, so Angela tries to make a few phone calls to get intel on when her mother left the hospital and who took her as a baby. And she keeps getting hung up on. Tyreek actually arrives and he checks outside of the building saying that the structure is just fine. I think he even asked her out on a date and she kind of declines because I'm actually going to a party tonight, but I can invite you as my, +1 and I'll pick you up at 6. So from there, it looks like, damn, they're probably going to make out. But Tyreek's like, well, hey, here's a wall I want you to see. I mean, if you could bust this out, that could make even more room for your salon. And when he does it, there's like an opening and Angela looks and it looks like a whole bunch. It looks like a back room full of clothing and jewelry that her mom had. So we go over to the Forbes photo shoot and Leah is just killing it, taking the photos like, oh, I'm on the cover of Forbes. So Lauren actually is on her phone as Leah approaches her. And this was a sweet moment where, despite, the whole cops at the boat and Lauren being hung over, it's like, I've worked so hard for this. I know it might seem trivial to you, but it's a big deal. Like since I was your age, I was looking up to my father and his business and I knew one day this moment would come. But now that it's here, I'm super nervous. And Lauren's like, you get nervous? And I loved it because I'm human too, honey. I still get nervous about stuff. So in the midst of their chat, Teddy shows up and there's a brief exchange between Teddy and Leah about power. And again, I love this scene because it's just moments like this that don't get depicted that much in black television, because usually there's a comedic aspect to it. So whenever there are moments like this in black shows, it's few and far between. Or maybe it's because I've watched just nothing but Tyler Perry shows for so many years that I'm not used to the shows that do have moments like this where there are serious talks between children and their parents, because typically it might be the child trying to get rid of their parent either through extortion, usurping, murder to get the position or the inheritance. But no, it's moments where, you know what, hey, I know what you did was underhanded. I'm not here about what you did to me. I'm not here about the retirement, so to speak. I'm just here, to get a couple photos with you, talk about the exchange of power, but I also want to talk to you about power in the same way my father did to me. Basically, when you don't have power, you could be made to do whatever you're told to do. And my father had to chat with me about power, and he told me that power isn't about what Teddy showed in episode 1. Teddy thought having this power meant that he had to lord it over white people, basically to prove himself. Ha! You know what? I'm black, but guess what? You have to look up at me. You're not looking down at me at the fields. Basically, he wanted to flaunt his power, but his father tried to tell him it wasn't about that. And then from there, in the midst of the conversation, Leah pretty much, intersects like, looking at it from my perspective, when I was a little girl, ever since I was like, 8, 7 or whatever, I would go to different places with you. But there was one point we went to Boston and there was that little girl, her hands were shaking and I never saw you look at the way before in my life. Basically, this was Angela in reference to the flashback scene at the end of episode 1. But Teddy kind of shakes it off and just says, let's go take these photos. And I'm like, uh-oh. So from there, Leah actually looks at one of the tables where, they prepped the women they prepped her for the photo shoot. And she notices a bottle of Eve's Crown. She's like, this heifer is everywhere. All right. So Leah and Lauren actually show up to Angela's as she's making more calls about trying to find out about the hospital. And Leah shows up saying, oh, I'm just here to check out your place of business. And it's just like, oh, damn. So I know you've been talking with Raymond about the business grant, so that's why I'm here to check things out. Nikki is actually revealed to have been checking on Taylor since the boat accident, and then Lauren's kind of pissed about it. So Leah then reveals that I know about your situation with Taylor. I saw the pictures on your phone and you were looking at each other like we love each other. And look, I love you no matter what, but I can't support this. And then Lauren just blows up and leaves. And there's a cool moment between Angela and Leah, because at first Leah's like, no, don't talk to me. It's like, look, speaking as a working mother to a working mother, basically, because Leah's like, wait, how could I have missed this? Why did she never tell me? Yeah, when you're a working parent, sometimes some things slip under the radar. But I just know the next thing you say to her is going to be important. So just make sure you speak out of love. So, again, I loved it. This was a very good moment here. And Angela got a phone call. And it turns out that it was true. Deborah did take her from the hospital. And Aunt Peggy's in the back room, the one that Tyreek broke the wall down to. And she's upset, and she reveals the truth that she was essentially sold for $50,000 for 6 months to Deborah. And Aunt Peggy says she's always knew. And the old woman wanted children. That's why she offered your mother the money. And she would have paid your mom on like a schedule, hey, let me keep your child and I'll like send you money every now and then. But it turns out Angela couldn't, or Evelyn couldn't bring herself to do it. So after 6 months, she got her child back. And then Angela's like, what about $50,000? Did she give that back? Did she keep it? She would have gave it back, but apparently Miss Peggy got into some crap back in the day. She got into some trouble. I don't know if it was like drug dealing or something like that, or dealing with a drug dealer. I forgot. I know some people on Twitter said it was, but I didn't really catch what she said. Either way, she just said, I got into some trouble back in the day and your mom used that money to help me. So, yeah, from there, Angela blows up and goes out for a walk, but then she comes back later that night and they apologize to each other and they chat. But actually, before that, there's a moment before she storms off that Aunt Peggy tries to clear the air, but says, don't dishonor your mom's name trying to get in bed with these Franklins and DuPonts just to clear her name. You need to go ahead and spread her ashes, because guess what? If you don't do it soon, I'm going to do it myself, because ever since you've been here, you haven't honored a single one of your mother's wishes. Which is interesting, because this is an interesting dynamic here where you have, look at it from Evelyn's perspective. You got the fact that a man who swept her off her feet from the lap of luxury had a child with her and pretty much made promises about, oh, I'm going to bring you into my world. I'm going to set you up. But then she gets, pretty much scorned. But even before that, her sister, who she's known for life essentially, got into some major trouble. So it was either sell this baby to be part of a better life than I could give her for $50,000 so I can, save my sister, or keep this baby and then my sister's in trouble. So I'm not saying what she did was right, but I could definitely see the I don't know what to do angle. So either way I work this situation out, I'm going to lose someone. But yeah, that night they chat again, and we fast forward to the start of the episode where Aunt Peggy is essentially like, YOLO, you only got one life, so live it up. So go out with Tyreek, have a good time at the Black Diamond Ball, do your thing. And they pretty much, kind of make a pact to do right by Evelyn's wishes, but also make the most of their summer here at Oak Bluffs. Now, this, again, kind of like the mother-daughter fashion show in episode 1, this was just a great scene. Everybody's looking good. The men in the suits, the women in their dresses, the hair and everything. And Lance, on the black carpet, I believe, with Angela taking photos and whatnot. Then we go over to Leah and Raymond, and one of the nominees shows up. And when I saw Miss Ella, I believe her name was Birdie, who is the owner of Birdie Soul Food and Cakes. I was hoping for a moment between her and Lance, Cassie and Lance on the carpet, but nah, it was Angela, Birdie and her crew, and Leah and Raymond, and she's just soaking up. Oh, I'm on this carpet with Angela. Hey, Angela, and I'm between you and this woman of black excellence on the cover of Forbes magazine. She wants to get some photos, and Angela just kind of looks over to Raymond. Yeah, I'm showing I'm on the map, and it's like, because she's from Boston too, and it's like, oh, okay. Raymond's like, oh, I see what you did there. So when the photos start and Raymond tries to step away, he's like, no, bring your fine ass back here. I died. This was great. I loved it. So After, the black carpet stuff is done, Raymond approaches Angela, impressed by her drive, and saying, hey, I'll arrange a meeting with the company soon so you can speak to the chair, basically the board, about your business and your progress, and just make a good impression. I think that Angela just showed she had a lot of what's that word I'm looking for? Spunk. And it's paying off. So this is the scene people like, what if Raymond's into Angela? I could kind of see it, but I think of it more from a Raymond recognizes a lot of himself potentially within Angela, but unlike Angela, Raymond was kind of born into a, hey, I have a family business that eventually be passed on to me, versus Angela, who arguably was in the same situation with Eve's crown, of course, but different circumstances in their upbringing. But I just feel like Raymond recognizes that Angela is a person to not turn his nose up at, because he recognizes her potential. So I really like the scene. So as she's celebrating, Tyreek comes over, and Miss Migo and Misco and Tiffany come to the stage. I don't know who it was, but they were singing the song, and then they started dancing. Nikki and Peggy arrive at the event, and it's funny how Quincy comes over and is like, hey, Nikki, you've been kind of quiet since the accident with Taylor on the boat. And Aunt Peggy reminds her about, don't be kissing cousins. And when Nikki's like, hey, this is what happened, Lauren comes up and is like, you don't belong here. But then Nikki decides to take it upon herself. Well, yeah, guess what? I do belong here, because my mother and I aren't the broke people from the broke Boston bunch as you think we are. Because guess what? And before she could reveal something, Angela comes over like, girl, what you doing? Basically like, don't tell that business right now. I'm going to reveal it when I want to reveal it. You be quiet. So, in the midst of this, Leah and Teddy take the stage, and this entire time, Angela's jaw just hits the floor because she can't believe it. Oh my God, that's my father. So Teddy announces that this reminded me of the closing moments of Ambition season 1, where Stephanie's father basically gave a hell of a speech. Like, oh, well, my daughter is this. She's amazing. She's going to be a great head of the company. But guess what? Mic drop. I'm not retiring. I'm still going to be the chairman. Let's not get it twisted. She will still be my second in command. What I loved about this moment, I believe, should have been the moment where the Forbes cover of just Leah should have been up there. But instead, you got these two back-to-back, arms crossed, smiling like they're posing for a 90s sitcom billboard or theme song. Leah's face was priceless. Raymond, of course, he's shocked because it's like, well, shit, what about my company? So I just loved it. I mean, because remember, Angela's face was the only one, of course, you expect to be dumbfounded and flabbergasted, like, that's my father. Because at this moment, sure, she had a major victory impressing Raymond, but when she saw Teddy, she turned back into like that little 6 or 7 year old girl who was chasing after her daddy in the rain. So, this was pretty intense. So, when they get off stage, Teddy makes it clear, look, all that dirt you said you had on me to get me to retire, turns out it didn't stick to the bottom of my shoe as well as you thought it did. Not to mention, with all the incriminating things you think you have on me, guess what? That I think he either said the dirt you have on me includes your husband, or he said that, well, I have some things about your husband that can bring him down too. So if you shoot an arrow trying to take me down, your husband's going to fall as well. So you better watch out to see what's in your quiver next time. He didn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing. Leah's face, I was just like, damn. So he even ends it by saying, you're good at this, but not as good as me. And then his hand is shaking. My dad actually has a condition like this. My mom told me about it, and I'm like, wait, what? Why didn't you tell me? Like, I guess it's like a nerve thing. I forgot the name of it. I apologize. But I think it's like, when you do like involuntary, I think it's like nerve damage or something. It's like when you do involuntary shaking of different limbs. Look, I think I have something like that too, because when I get super stressed, I quiver. So that was something that, he tried to hide from his daughter because after he finished, telling her off, his hand started shaking and she looked down, but he tried to hide it. And wasn't that something about Napoleon from history? Like, he would always have one hand in like the pocket of his jacket because he had a situation like that where his hand would shake and he didn't want that revealed because it would show a sign of weakness. Okay, now we get to the last page of notes. Man, I didn't expect this review to be as long as the episode. So Angela is shocked to see her father from afar, and as he's making his way through the room, she tries to chase after him, and we got flashbacks to when she was a child doing the same thing. Tyreek actually comes up and is like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. It's almost like a Cinderella thing. I was expecting one of her shoes to fall off. I'm not lying. Like, it literally felt like a Cinderella moment here. So when he takes like a moment to kind of collect himself before going through the tent, or the curtain, she looks at him like the day or the night that he was in the rain, and she couldn't even get a sound out. So after Teddy leaves, she just decides to rush out and puke into the ocean because of her nerves. And Nikki goes out there to comfort her because she's crying, saying, I couldn't say a thing to him. So Raymond is pissed at Leah because he pretty much makes it clear, don't be gullible, look at reality. You will be a fool to think your dad will ever give you the keys to the company. You're a princess, you're not the queen. And he wants his company back. So Leah's like, well, hey, let me go through this and then cut the red tape shit. You know what? It's not going to happen. So he just wants what's his. So is it Jack? Is it Jack or John? So essentially, I believe this is the same guy who was on the boat with Raymond. He comes in and notices how stressed out that Leah is about the situation, and you would think it would just be a chat because it's like, yeah, so Raymond told me what happened about the business thing, but then the stunt on the stage pretty much proves it's not going to happen. But they actually start making out, and then Lauren's like, Mom, and then she storms off, and then Leah chases after her, and then they're on the carpet, and her dad's like, oh, hey, what's going on, baby? You're shaking. It's like, no, nothing, I'm fine. Because I'm like, wait, is she going to blow whistle on her mom? But no, she actually walks off. But guess what? You got the cops there to arrest her for questioning because Taylor is awake in the hospital saying that she was pushed off the boat, and she says Lauren is the one that did it. And she is pleading with Nikki. Is like, wait, Nikki, she knows what's going on. And Nikki's like, I don't know what happened. I didn't see it. And then Leah tries to step to Nikki before Leah steps up. Angela steps like, no, you better think before you step to my daughter again. So from there, the cops are like, you're under arrest for the attempted murder of Taylor. It's like, ah! So then they all, go off. And the thing about it is the fact that, think back to episode 1. I believe that Nikki saw that there was the writing lies or the word lies on the family photo on the boat. Nikki, I don't believe, saw Taylor being pushed or falling off the boat. She overheard the shouting and the commotion, so by the time she got up there, it was just Lauren and she was freaking out. So Nikki did not see it. So she wasn't lying because you got to think of it from this perspective. A few minutes ago, Lauren just walked up to her trying to tell, oh, you don't belong here, you don't do this, and then all of a sudden you see her getting arrested and it's like, you can help me. Nope, I ain't see shit. I ain't even mad at Nikki. So going over to Tyreek's place, he's taking a late night dip in the pool. Angela comes over to apologize for leaving him like that, but he pretty much like, okay, 1 minute you're with me, then the next minute you're chasing after Raymond. You're chasing after Teddy Franklin. What's going on here? It's like, no, it's nothing like that. I had a business question, but at the very least, I just wanted to talk to him real quick because I just love the way that he was, putting his daughter on a pedestal and loving her. And it's like, well, isn't that what dad's supposed to do? Obviously, that's a sensitive subject for Angela. And it turns out he didn't really grow up with a father either because he actually died or took a bullet for Teddy because he was working security for him. And as a result, Teddy made sure that I was, well off, that I was taken care of. And again, that was another blow to Angela because Tyreek is like, I know you're probably thinking, he might not be all that good, but he set me up. So it's like, wow, my father set another child up and another daughter up, but then didn't set me up. But of course, she doesn't reveal this. But look, I didn't know my father. I just found out who it was recently, and I've just been going through a lot. And then he's like, look, you need to learn how to float because that's one thing about me. Like, my father died protecting Teddy, and I've always been mad because he died leaving me behind. But learning how to float is like my moment to kind of just let things go and have a chat with him. So they have a very, I don't want to just say sexy, they have a very steamy scene in the pool together, which was very good. So, it looks like the next day, Evelyn's ashes are scattered in the area. And, it's a very good family moment there between Peggy, Nikki, and Angela. We got Teddy playing chess with himself. And again, you see his hands shaking. And Leah comes in about the situation involving Lauren's arrest. And the fact that Teddy reveals, well, don't worry, I'll handle that, but here's something you need to focus on. And he reveals that Angela is her sister. It's like, that little girl in Boston. And I will let you know the next move, because we need to make sure this Angela situation is taken care of, because if she finds out too much of the truth, it could ruin the entire family. And, of course, Leah's upset, so she throws the chessboard. It's like, yeah, you better let that out now, because we need to focus on the main goal. So the final scene, we got Aunt Peggy burning a picture of, I believe, her, Evelyn, and Teddy when they were younger. And I apologize, in episode 1 I didn't catch that. I thought that Angela just looked at the interrogation video and put 2 and 2 together, but they were actually photos to show that it was Teddy and her mom. So Teddy visits Aunt Peggy. She's burning that picture, and then Peggy pulls out a gun. It's like, oh, is that a way to greet an old friend? And the episode ends. This was a fantastic episode. Yeah, like I said, from start to finish, I was entertained. A lot of things going on. Yeah, I feel like the pacing is a bit all over the place, because I feel like a lot of big reveals should have been spread out. But, I mean, if we're only 2 episodes in and a lot of big bombs are already dropping, who knows what's coming up next week? So, yeah, 9 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like I said, I don't know if every single review is going to be this long, but like I mentioned earlier, I feel like the more I go off in these reviews covering all the details and my thoughts, the less reason for me to do a bunch of theory discussion videos. I might have 1 or 2, but that's it. Can't argue with that. So make sure if you want to donate to the channel, you do so on PayPal or Cash App. And with that being said, I'll talk to you next time.